Guys, I got a quick question for you. When you look at this, what do you feel? Does this look like a Lego impersonation of a smartphone or a AI generated smartphone? Well, this here is the Nothing Phone 3, and it's the flagship product that Nothing has released to the wild. And to say people's responses has been mostly negative is an understatement.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
And Nothing has made a video reacting to the reviews, and we're going to tear this down. So we're going to react to a reaction, reactception. But before we do that, let's just touch the biggest elephant in the room, the price. If you or little Jimmy wants to get a 256 gig Nothing Phone 3, it's going to set you back a healthy $1,509, just a small down payment. And if you want like an acceptable amount of storage, let's say you want to store your saved TikToks on it, well that's going to set you back $1,689. And I'm probably going to kill most of that reaction video anyways. I don't want to sit there for 20 minutes reacting to a video. But for the specs that you're getting, 8S Gen 4, if we just look at the competition, for example, within that same price bracket, I know this phone is a little bit more expensive, the Oppo Find X8 Pro here, but you're getting a Dimensity 9400, which is significantly better than the 8S Gen 4, but you're also getting a battery that is much larger here at almost 6... Whoa, what's going on there? You're getting a much larger battery at 5,910 milliamp hours compared to the Nothing Phone's 5,150 milliamp hours. And allegedly, if you are buying this phone, you're getting scammed in the West because in India, apparently this phone has a 5,400 milliamp hour battery. You know what? Apparently I was wrong. It's 5,500 milliamp hours, which, yeah, so do remember that when you're paying that good old $1,600 for the Phone 3, you could be getting a bigger battery, but you're just not. But with that being said, let's go ahead and react to the reaction of the reaction.
Yeah, it's ugly. This year, the glyph lights are gone, and replacing them is this small display on the back upper corner of the phone. On its face, this has some usefulness about it, but then it's also surrounded by gimmicks.
You see, the issue that I have with the glyph interface, but the new one, for example, is the fact that it's literally just another display on the back of your phone, but really low resolution instead of being high resolution. And the main concern that I have with this in general is there's less of a control that Nothing can have in terms of its usefulness out the box. They're going to be relying on developers to implement features for this function.
We have a small platform, like this is not iOS with 1 billion users, so when developers allocate resources, they can't allocate a lot of resource to a small platform. However, the other point that he perhaps hasn't thought of is that the cost of making software is going down to zero over time.
Them saying that just kind of rubs me the wrong way, especially with a premium product. If I buy a phone that's $1,700, just being realistic here, I don't want the fact that he is saying that we're going to rely on developers using artificial intelligence to create a function that should just be out the box ready.
Over the past couple of years, our camera capabilities have kept improving, and the Phone 3 is the best showcase of our ability so far. We're going to keep improving.
You know, it's funny that they say that the Phone 3 is the best of their ability, where they actually kind of downgraded from the Phone 3a Pro's camera setup to the Phone 3's premium setup. If we look at Jerry Riggs' teardown, for example, and have a look at that good old periscope, you can see it's kind of small. And if we look at the 3a Pro, for example, you can see the camera is just a lot bigger. It's funny because Nothing themselves said in a video that I believe was released by Mr. Who's the Boss, in response to him asking about the minimum focus distance improvements, they actually downgraded the sensor size and made it smaller, which is the result of the camera being able to focus closer.
While this is the story they're telling you, that, oh, it can focus even closer than the last time we did this, the reason for that is that this is a smaller sensor than the last time they did it.
The bigger issue that I also have is the aesthetics of the phone kind of is based off the functionality of the parts, but also the functionality of the parts isn't really a good use of space at the same time. And what I mean by that is if we look at the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, for example, you can see the cameras in here are massive, and that's the reason why it beats out everything in the West that I've tested. At least that's the S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, and Pixel 9 Pro XL. But this phone here, like, every time I show someone the phone, right, they don't think it looks nice. And I personally don't really care because it's functional, But if nothing is going to make something that looks bad, that's also not quite functional, I don't think I want to give them money. And that's the issue here. It's the camera system is just not up to par for a flagship phone.
We've been building it for the last couple of years. It was really important for us to translate our unique hardware design language onto the software. This idea of intentionality behind a smartphone use is something we also had since the beginning with Nothing OS.
Look, I don't have an issue with Nothing OS in general. I think it's actually really good, especially if you want to detox yourself from the internet. But once again, the issue lies with the pricing again. It's just not worth it. You can literally buy a Nothing Phone 2A, which is going to have the same experience, and it's on sale right now, and it's literally a quarter of the price. Well, not a quarter, about a third of the price.
So this Nothing Phone 3, it's certainly dressed up like a flagship. Like,
Yep.
it's got all the makings
that's
of what could be
exactly
a
what I'm
flagship.
saying.
But when you peel back the mask just a little bit, like right under the surface, it's the same exact strategy that Nothing has been running on all their previous phones in the past. The playbook is to just cut back just a little bit from the highest end stuff.
And that's the thing that I noticed with the Nothing Phone 3A Pro compared to the Nothing Phone 2A. When I upgraded to the 3A Pro, which the review is coming out soon, I was genuinely pretty positive about everything. And one of the things that I'm kind of battling with myself is whether to release the video or not. Because, yes, it is generally a better experience than the 2A, but you're getting thicker bezels in the 2A Pro, and I just didn't feel like I was getting my money's worth of almost doubling the price from the 2A to the 3A Pro.
So it works. It's not a bad strategy. It's allowed them to make great phones in the past, but it's just harder to sell that strategy at this price. For some context, some other phones using this chip, the Poco F7 and the iQOO Neo 10. Both of these are sub $500 phones.
The part that he probably missed is that we do have the highest costs for our components compared to everybody else. Like, we are the smallest brand at scale in this industry.
Look, I understand from a business standpoint that things are costing more, but I don't think your consumer cares. The thing with Nothing here is, like, yes, they are a smaller company, but asking $1,600 to $1,700 for a phone with a chip that's not even flagship, with battery specs that are different across different countries, is just not acceptable. Like, what are they expecting us to do? Feel sorry for them when they're undercutting us as the consumer and charging us more flagship price for mid-range specs? But anyways, let's just continue, and I'll be quiet for a second.
Like, we are the smallest brand at scale in this industry, meaning that for the same amount of budget, we don't get the same amount of components as everybody else. And the good news is, as we're growing, our disadvantages are becoming smaller and smaller. So over the last...
If that's the case, then why does the phone cost almost $1,700? I don't really understand. Now, we could watch the rest of this entire video, but generally it's just the same sentiment going throughout this entire thing. And my real issue with Nothing here is their whole response is literally, I'm sorry you don't like it, but someone will. And that's the reality of tech these days, and why I've kind of just kind of stopped reviewing phones. Like, I'm not going to stop completely. If there's something that flies over my radar and I catch it and I'm like, holy crap, I've detected the B-2 bomber, this is so cool. Of course, I'm going to still review it. But generally, tech nowadays is if any company does something bad, there's always going to be a tech journalist out there or a fanboy out there who's going to say it's just acceptable. This is okay. And I'm not saying that it's the case here for the Nothing Phone 3, for example. You got, like, comments say he knew he was cooked, for example. But the issue extends from Nothing as well. And I'm just afraid that this mentality is, because it's going to be deemed okay. Like, I'm sure there's a minority that's going to say, oh, this phone is excellent, and it's going to be the best phone for a certain individual. But catering to the minority, which can be good, is really a double-edged sword. And in the case of a phone that's competing with flagships, I just don't think a flagship should be catering to a minority, especially with something that's very aesthetic based and not really functionality based anymore. I think Nothing should have probably experimented with the glyph matrix display on one of their mid-range options to see if the community would actually adopt it, to see if it was actually a viable option, especially with the fact that they said themselves that AI can generate the code. You don't need to have a flagship product to be viable for that if that's the case. It really just comes down to the general market today. We have so many excellent phones. Most phones are just kind of the same thing with a different skin on top, ignoring the Asian market phones, which are, in my opinion at least, just significantly better than what you can get from Apple or Google. But then again, once we go back and scope back, you can't really get these other phones in the other markets, and nothing is now competing with the big top dogs of smartphones, Apple, Samsung, and Google. And those phones have competitive advantages that nothing needs to compete with. And sticking an 8S Gen 4 and claiming that parts are too expensive is just not a strategy that's going to work. I mean, you got like Optus, for example, which is a telecommunications network here in Australia, and I believe the UK, they're offering the headphones for free if you pre-order the Phone 3. But anyways, guys, I'm not going to pick up the Nothing Phone 3 for review. I'm going to be skipping this one. I'll probably check out the 4, the 4A as well. I'm sure Nothing will get back on their feet, but with that being said, just remember one thing. Guys, don't love the company, love the product. If the product is bad, don't buy it. If the product is good, buy it. Let the companies know with your wallets. Don't let the companies know by posting outrageous posts saying, oh, everyone is wrong, this phone is good. Because the Nothing Phone 3, for its price, is really just not the greatest phone. If it was $800, $900, I would probably get it. I would say it's probably acceptable. But for $1,700, it's a flagship, and it's not performing like a flagship. Anyways, guys, thanks a ton for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.